Deadliest Catch may be one of the most aptly named reality shows on TV. From tragic accidents on ships to sudden deaths off-screen, these are some of the saddest details to emerge about the show in its nearly two-decade run. Blake Painter first appeared in Deadliest Catch in 2006, working as an engineer before taking the helm of the FV Maverick. He was featured in 10 episodes of the reality television series during the second and third seasons, but later quit the show. However, he continued to work as a crab fisherman off-screen. At just 38 years of age, Painter was found dead at his home in May 2018 by police officers. Friends had contacted authorities after noticing a seemingly lifeless body at Painter's home while he had been missing for several days. Although there were no suspicious circumstances surrounding his death, reports indicated that Painter had been arrested a few months before for allegedly using heroin while driving. According to TMZ, several drugs were found in the room where Painter's body was located when police searched the premises. While no cause of death was provided, he was suspected to have died due to an overdose. Out of the many crab fishermen who have starred in Deadliest Catch as a leading cast member, Jake Anderson is one of the longest serving. He made his debut on the show in 2007 and has so far appeared in just over 200 episodes, eventually going on to become the captain of the ship known as Saga. However, his time on the show has not been easy for the fisherman, and he has received bad news on 2 separate occasions about his family while on screen. The first happened in an episode during Season 5 of Deadliest Catch, recorded in February 2009. He was told that his sister, Chelsea Dawn Anderson, had passed away unexpectedly. She had suffered from juvenile rheumatoid arthritis since childhood and died due to complications of pneumonia that were exacerbated by her chronic condition. A year later, in a Season 6 episode, Anderson learned that his father had gone missing. Keith Anderson's truck had been discovered empty in a remote area of Washington.
We found the truck, but they haven't found him yet, but they're still searching, and our families are out searching.
The 62-year-old was presumed dead due to the freezing conditions, although his body was not found until 2 years later when a hiker came across unidentified human remains. Having first appeared in Season 8 as a greenhorn aboard the fishing vessel known as the Seabrook, Mahlon Reyes became a regular throughout the 8th season. Reyes was promoted to deckhand on the Seabrook in later seasons before transferring to the Cape Caution in 2014. He was then absent for over half a decade until his return as a deckhand on the Summer Bay in 2020 for 3 episodes. Those episodes proved to be the final time that Reyes would be on screen in Deadliest Catch. In August 2020, he died from a heart attack at the age of 38. According to his family members, Reyes was not suffering from any pre-existing health conditions, and the heart attack came as a total surprise. He is survived by his wife and their 4 children, with his family later revealing that his ashes were to be scattered at sea. A later episode of Deadliest Catch was subsequently aired in memory of the fisherman. A post from his family on Facebook read, "On Sunday night, our family together made the hardest choice we've ever made, and that was to remove him from life support. Mahlon's body was tired and had put up an amazing fight. He was the strongest guy we knew. He was surrounded by so much love." One of the biggest threats for any fisherman is their vessel becoming damaged. This can not only put their own lives at risk, but also opens up the very real possibility of the ship sinking with all of its equipment. It is any captain's worst nightmare, and something that nobody wants to witness. Unfortunately, Deadliest Catch has featured several fishing ships that have sadly sunk either on the show or off-screen, often with tragic consequences for those involved. The FV Big Valley sank in 2005, killing 5 of the 6 crew on the ship, while the FV Destination disappeared, leading to a widespread search that was depicted in Deadliest Catch as the Coast Guard and close-by boats helped to locate the sunken vessel.
They've found the life ring, they've found a fuel slick, they've found debris indicative of a crab boat going down.
Other ships that have appeared in Deadliest Catch and have subsequently been lost at sea include the FV Alaska Ranger and the Katmai. Perhaps the most highly publicized of these terrible incidents was the FV Scandies Rose, a crab fishing ship that sank in 2019, resulting in the death of 5 of the 7 crew members on board. As one of the regulars of the series, much of Anderson's life has been discussed and shown on screen during episodes of Deadliest Catch. He began life on the show as a greenhorn on the Northwestern before making his way up to deckhand and then deck boss on the same ship. He continued to climb the ladder until taking over as captain on Saga, but he's revealed in interviews over the years that not everything has been smooth sailing for the fisherman. Before he became involved in crab fishing on Deadliest Catch, his life was very different and could have ended in tragedy. In his debut book, Relapse, Anderson spoke about his battles with addiction. After an injury that ended his professional skateboarding career and losing almost all of his sponsorship money, Anderson struggled with drug and alcohol problems. He also spent time homeless, unable to afford rent due to unemployment and addiction issues. Having reached rock bottom, Anderson has shared his personal stories in the hope of inspiring others rather than gaining sympathy. Compared to some of the other cast members of Deadliest Catch, Justin Tennison didn't have a particularly long run on the show. In Season 7, the experienced fisherman joined the Time Bandit as a deckhand. That meant working with Andy, Jonathan, and Neil Hillstrand, as well as Eddie Uokalani on one of the series' most popular vessels. He made his first appearance in 2011 and appeared in a total of 8 episodes, although his time was ultimately cut short. Tennison was found dead in a hotel room in Alaska in February 2011 at the age of 33. Despite initial suggestions that his death may have been caused by substance abuse, it was eventually revealed that he suffered from sleep apnea and complications from his condition were responsible. His friend and cousin Uokalani told The Hollywood Reporter, his last wishes were to be cremated and taken out to the water for one long trip. He loved Alaska. He loved hunting and fishing and everything about it. He loved his kids tremendously. Nick McGlashan quickly established himself as a popular member of the Deadliest Catch cast following his initial appearance in 2013. Originally working as a deckhand on board the Cape Caution, he later transitioned to the Summer Bay where he worked as a deck boss from 2017 until his final posthumous on-screen role in the Season 17 episode Tangled Web. Throughout that time, McGlashan was present in 85 episodes of the hit reality television show. The 33-year-old star of the series was found dead in December 2020. According to Variety, the fisherman had struggled with addiction problems for many years, abusing alcohol and drugs from a young age. However, he had been living sober for some time before his death, having been forced to confront his issues under threat of being fired from his fishing job.
I have some problems that Bill can't take care of, so we're going to the clinic. We get checked out.
British tabloid paper The Sun later reported that his autopsy had shown that he had died from an overdose and that a mixture of drugs was found in his body. The fact that crab fishing is so dangerous means that the crew of the various vessels showcased in Deadliest Catch often risk their lives. So while efforts are taken to make the job as safe as possible, there are still some inevitable injuries. Throughout the more than 300 episodes of the reality series to date, there have been some truly horrific incidents where fishermen have suffered serious wounds. One of the worst injuries happened to Corey Rhodes during the finale episode of Season 15. The deckhand saw his leg mangled after it was crushed by a falling 1,000-pound crab pot, breaking both the fibula and tibia. Rhodes had to be evacuated to the hospital by the Coast Guard due to the serious nature of the leg injury. Meanwhile, Roger Schlostein had the misfortune of being injured twice during his appearances on Deadliest Catch. The first occurrence saw the fisherman crush his hand against a rail, while the second involved a loose crab pot crashing into his back while he worked at a sorting table.
Your tenacity is impressive, Roger.
Another significant injury on Deadliest Catch involved Francis Katungan, who was pinned against a railing by a giant piece of steel after a wave dislodged crab pots on the side of the Patricia Lee. The incident was so bad that producer Todd Stanley had to provide first aid until the ship was within range of a Coast Guard helicopter. Out of all the people featured in Deadliest Catch, Captain Phil Harris was arguably the most beloved by fans. An experienced fisherman who had been involved in the industry since he was a young child, he was one of the first stars of the show as the captain of the Cornelia Marie and quickly became a favorite of viewers. However, his time on the show was not always great. He was often shown to have a tumultuous relationship with his family and suffered a serious injury in 2008 when he fell during a storm and broke his ribs. The accident resulted in Harris coughing up blood and eventually suffering from a pulmonary embolism. The damage caused by this incident led to the captain missing much of the year. Unfortunately, this injury was just a precursor to a far more tragic event that would take place in 2010. During filming for Deadliest Catch, Harris was found unresponsive in his cabin. Quickly transported to the hospital to receive medical treatment, it was revealed that he had suffered a significant stroke and required life-saving surgery. Although it initially seemed as if his condition was improving, he later suffered a fatal intracranial hemorrhage. Deadliest Catch cast and crew subsequently held a memorial service for the captain and dedicated an episode in his honor. While Deadliest Catch has seen more than its fair share of injuries throughout its cast, behind the scenes there are even more deadly matters afoot. For instance, the cast of the show faces the same kind of risks as everyone else when it comes to diseases and illnesses. Captain Bill Wichrowski found this out during the season 19 finale when he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Doctors recommended that he start treatment immediately due to the aggressive nature of the cancer. Wichrowski went public with his diagnosis to help raise awareness of the dangers that prostate cancer poses to men. According to the American Cancer Society, it is a disease that affects hundreds of thousands of people and kills over 35,000 each year. The disease also hasn't stopped Wichrowski from filming for future seasons of Deadliest Catch.
When I heard it, one of the things I thought was, you know what, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going until I actually can't.
For nearly 2 decades of Discovery's Deadliest Catch, Nick Mavar was a recurring presence as a Northwestern deckhand. He made 98 appearances until his departure from the series after season 17. After experiencing pain aboard the Northwestern, Mavar was airlifted to a hospital and diagnosed with a ruptured appendix. During his treatment, doctors discovered a cancerous tumor within his appendix. To recover properly and start immediate treatment, Mavar left Deadliest Catch. However, this wasn't the end of his association with the show. He subsequently sued the owners of the Northwestern in a lawsuit that also involved production company Original Productions, Inc. Mavar was a popular member of the Northwestern crew, serving under Captain Sig Hansen. During a particularly emotional and personal storyline, Mavar played a prominent role in helping Jake Anderson, his nephew, in his recovery following alcohol and drug addictions. A Bristol Bay Borough Police Department spokesperson told Variety that Mavar had suffered a medical emergency and had died of natural causes on June 13, 2024 after being transported to Kamai Medical Center in Alaska. Speaking to the New York Times, Anderson shed more light on his uncle's death, confirming that he had been working at a dry dock when he had a heart attack. He said Mavar fell from a ladder onto the dry dock before medics arrived at the scene. If you or anyone you know needs help with addiction issues, help is available. Visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP, 1-800-662-4357.